Right, good day, everyone. Welcome to the STEM Lockdown Digital School. This is grade 11 Life Sciences. My name is Unkarabetse Setswe, and you guys can get hold of me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @unkarabetse_Setswe. Right. So yesterday we started off with the human digestive system. And today we will continue going through the human digestive system, right? So let's just quickly recap from what we did yesterday. Yesterday we spoke about the processes of digestion. We spoke about ingestion. We said that this occurs when we put food in our mouth. We mentioned mechanical digestion. We said that this is when the crushing and sharing of food happens. This is done by the teeth. And then we spoke about chemical digestion, the chemical breakdown of food. We also mentioned absorption, that this is when your nutrients enter the blood. And we mentioned assimilation, that this is when your cells take in nutrients from the blood. And we also mentioned egestion, which is the removal of undigested food in the form of feces. Right. So we also spoke about our alimentary canal. And I did say yesterday that it is represented by this color here, the pink color. All the organs that fall within this color form part of the alimentary canal. And we said that the mouth is part of the alimentary canal, the esophagus, the stomach, the small intestine, and the large intestine. And we also mentioned the excretory organs, which are found in the digestive system, which are your salivary glands, your pancreas, your gallbladder, and your liver, and as well as this organ which has no function called the appendix. I hope everyone remembers. And we also had homework, but we did it as classwork, and we left out number 7. I said that you guys should find the answer for number 7. This was to ensure that you guys really study and go through the work that we covered yesterday. So guys, can we please use the chat box to give the answer to 7 across? I need the answer for 7 across. Remember, we filled out most of them. We just left out 7 across and 5 across. For 5 across, we will deal with that one when we deal with the pancreas and the small intestine. Okay, guys, I'm waiting for answers. Can we send the answers through to the Zoom group chat? If you did not find the answer, please say so. Okay, Mandisa says the trachea. Remember that for going down, we said that it is salivary gland, right? So for going down with salivary gland, therefore we already have a clue here, which is the L. So it cannot be the trachea. Seven across. Okay, Dune, it is not the larynx. Okay, Mbali, you are actually correct. It is the esophagus. And the other word for esophagus is called a gullet. All right. So that is why I wanted you guys to go study. And you would probably have found that the other name for an esophagus is called a gullet. But this is not a term that you guys would use in grade 11. But yeah, so 7 across is gullet. And it is just another name for esophagus. So we did not mention that yesterday, but yeah. The other name for an esophagus is a gullet. Okay, so we can move on. So today what we'll be dealing with and looking in deeper detail is digestion, all right? So we should be able to define digestion. And this is a process where large molecules are broken down into smaller molecules, all right? So the aim of digestion is basically to get nutrients out of the food that you're eating. And hence digestion is taking place either mechanically or chemically. Okay, so guys, remember, if you have any questions, just use the group chat to write down your questions. And if I ask any questions, use the group chat as well to write your answers. Okay. Okay, let's continue with digestion. Right, these are our study objectives for the lesson. You should be able to explain the process of ingestion and digestion, including both mechanical and chemical. You should be able to state the functions of the tongue. You should be able to name and state the function of various types of teeth. You should be able to explain chemical and mechanical digestion in the mouth. You should be able to define peristalsis. You should be able to explain chemical and mechanical digestion in the stomach. Right, so guys, I'm just gonna play you guys a video. Just pay attention to the video. Let me.
The soft palate blocks the upper pharynx to prevent food from entering the nasal cavity, and multiple voluntary muscles in the face, neck, and tongue contract, pushing food particles through the pharynx. The food passes over the epiglottis, which prevents food entry into the respiratory system, and then into the esophagus, which connects the pharynx to the stomach. The one-way movement of the food mass, now called a bolus, is controlled by wave-like involuntary muscle contractions. This movement is known as peristalsis. The bolus now enters the stomach. Folds in the stomach wall, called rugae, allow for expansion as the stomach fills. Stomach cells secrete hydrochloric acid, pepsinogen, and various regulatory hormones that chemically digest the bolus.
Can everyone see the video? Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
The primary functions of the digestive system are the breakdown of food, called digestion, and absorption of nutrients. Digestion begins in the mouth, where the teeth break food into smaller particles during mastication. Salivary glands located near the oral cavity secrete saliva, which begins chemical digestion and keeps the food moist. As food is swallowed, the soft palate blocks the upper pharynx to prevent food from entering the nasal cavity, and multiple voluntary muscles in the face, neck, and tongue contract, pushing food particles through the pharynx. The food passes over the epiglottis, which prevents food entry into the respiratory system, and then into the esophagus, which connects the pharynx to the stomach. The one-way movement of the food mass, now called a bolus, is controlled by wave-like involuntary muscle contractions. This movement is known as peristalsis. The bolus now enters the stomach. Folds in the stomach wall, called rugae, allow for expansion as the stomach fills. Stomach cells secrete hydrochloric acid, pepsinogen, and various regulatory hormones that chemically digest the bolus. Muscular contractions in the stomach churn its contents to further break down the bolus and mix it with stomach secretions to form a thick liquid called chyme. Chyme exits the stomach through the pyloric sphincter and enters the small intestine, the major site of nutrient absorption. The small intestine consists of three parts: the duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. Bile from the liver and digestive enzymes from the pancreas empty into the duodenum to aid in digestion. Absorbed nutrients pass from the lumen of the small intestine into blood and lymph. Chyme not absorbed in the small intestine enters the large intestine. As it passes through the cecum and ascending, transverse, descending, and sigmoid colon, water and salts are absorbed and chyme is converted into feces. The rectum stores feces until nervous stimulation initiates the defecation reflex, resulting in elimination through the anal canal.
All right, so that was the video, which was summing up what we dealt with yesterday. So guys, you can use the chat box. As I can see, we have quite a whole lot of responses. So when I ask questions, please answer. All right, let's engage. Okay, now let's look at the organ of ingestion, where ingestion takes place, the mouth. All right, the other word for mouth is the oral cavity. It is sometimes referred to as the oral cavity. Okay, so what do we have? Let me just, okay, cool. What do we have on the mouth is lips. Okay, we found two lips, the upper lip and the lower lip. We have a tongue and teeth at the lower jaw. So the lower jaw, this is called the floor of the oral cavity. Let me just try getting a laser pointer so that you guys can just follow where I am reading. So the tongue and the lower jaw is at the floor of the oral cavity. And then we have a palate here, which is the hard palate. This hard palate serves as space for the tongue to move around and also provides a rigid layer to the nasal cavity, which is your nose, right? So that the pressures that are in the mouth don't close up the nasal cavity, so that breathing does not stop, okay? So that is the function of the hard palate there. And then we have the soft palate, and you have your uvula. And your different types of teeth are mentioned. As you can see here, we have your premolar, your molar, your incisor, and your canine. But we will look into that deeper on the upcoming slides. Okay, now let's look at the tongue. So the tongue is a muscular organ which can move in your mouth, right? It is attached at the back. I'm sure we all have a tongue, right? So you can just test it with your own tongue that you can move the not the upper, but like the forward part of your tongue can move around, right? So the tongue functions to push food between teeth while chewing. It helps with mixing food with saliva, and it assists in forming the food into a small ball, which we said is the bolus, right? So, and it also assists in swallowing. What the tongue also has is taste buds. This assists in having tasting different flavors of food, all right, in the food that we eat. So if you can taste something bitter or taste something that's sweet, it is because of the taste buds that are found on the tongue.
Never mind. Yeah.
Right. Then what we also find in the mouth is teeth. So adult human has 32 teeth, and they are found embedded in the sockets of both the upper and the lower jaw. I'm sure you guys can recall from the previous picture that was up on the slide that we have an upper jaw and the lower jaw. And I said that the lower jaw and the tongue is called the floor of the oral cavity. And I didn't mention this, that the upper jaw is referred to as the roof, right? It's the roof of the oral cavity. And then we have 4 types of teeth. Guys, remember last week, Friday, when we dealt with animal nutrition, we mentioned 4 types of teeth found in mammals. What are those 4 types of teeth found in mammals? I also mentioned them as we were going through the diagram of the oral cavity. So I need you guys to use the group chat to send in your answers. What are the 4 types of teeth found in mammals? Right, Michaela said molars, that is correct. Danae, incisors, that is correct. So 2 more. What are the other 2? Danielle said molar, incisor, canines. Yes, that is correct. And Danae said premolars. All right. Okay, guys. So I think we are all in the same part. So that is correct. It's your incisors, your canines, your premolars, and your molars. Awesome. Okay. And we also mentioned something that is called dental formula. I believe most of us can recall that we mentioned something called the dental formula. And I did say that the dental formula is a formula that is used to represent the number of teeth and types of teeth that a particular animal has. All right. And it is always in this particular form. Let me just quickly write it down. It's CPM. All right. So it's always in ICPM form. The I stands for incisor, the C stands for the canines, and P premolars, and the M is for molars. So this dental formula, it is important for you guys to note down. This is the dental formula for a human adult. It's 2, 1, 2, 3. So what it indicates is that on the upper jaw, so this indicates the upper jaw, right? Upper jaw, I'll just indicate it with a U, and this indicates for the lower jaw, right? But it is only half of the upper jaw and half of the lower jaw. So what it shows us is that half of the upper jaw of a human being has 2 incisors, has 1 canine, and has 2 premolars and 3 molars, right? And the lower jaw has 2 incisors, 1 canine, 2 premolars, and 3 molars. Okay, I hope we all together. Do we all understand the dental formula? Can you guys use the group chat just so that I know that we are together and I'm not leaving anyone behind? Okay, Danae, you can write your question down in the group chat if you still have a question.
No, I don't.
Okay, cool. All right, so we can move on. The second bullet reads, according to the dental formula, 1/2 of the upper jaw has 2 incisors, 1 canine, 2 premolars, and 3 molars. So that is what I have just explained. Okay. So here is a beautiful picture of a human mouth showing us teeth. Let me just get a highlighter so we can go through it together. So incisors. Here are your 2 incisors that would be indicated on the dental formula, right? But in totality of the upper jaw, here are your incisors. So there are 4 total incisors on the upper jaw. And even on the lower jaw, we have 4 incisors. Here are your incisors on the lower jaw. And then your canine. Here is your canine tooth. And there's the other one, and at the lower jaw, the same thing, there and there. And your premolars, there, and finally, your molars, there. And at the lower jaw, they are there and there. So you guys can see the location of your incisors, your canines, your premolars, and your molars, right? And then remember we said that the dental formula, it only shows for half a jaw, right? Okay, I don't think red was a good idea. Let's use black. Okay, so your dental formula would show for half a jaw. For example, let's say it will just show for this part. Okay, and so your 2, 1, 2, 3 would indicate half of the upper jaw and half of the lower jaw. Okay. What we also find in the mouth is salivary glands. So here is the location of your salivary glands, and the other one is found right there at the back of your mouth. Okay. So what is also important to note is the shapes of the human teeth and their functions, right? So incisors are chisel shaped and they are used for biting off pieces of food. So you guys should be able to describe the shape of incisors and also note their function, right? So incisors are chisel shaped and they are used for biting off pieces of food. And then canines, they are conical shaped and they help the incisors with tearing of pieces of food. And then your premolars are teeth with flat surfaces and have two pointed cusps. They are used for grinding the food. Your molars, they are teeth with flat surfaces with three to five pointed cusps, and they are used for grinding and crushing the food. Okay, so here is a picture. So this indicates your central incisor, and here is how your canine looks like. And these are your premolars, these two are your premolars and your molars. Okay, and here is another picture showing us the lower jaw. Okay, so what is also important to note, guys, is that this part, ooh, can't find, okay, let me just change the color of the pen because, so this part of the tooth here is called the root of the tooth. So it is the root of the tooth. Sorry for the bad handwriting. That is the root of the tooth, and the upper part is referred to as the crown of the tooth. Right. So when one refers to the crown of the tooth, they're talking about the upper part, and when they speak of the root of the tooth, they're speaking about the lower part that is in your gums. Okay. Okay, and the salivary glands, we have three pairs of salivary glands and they are found in the muscles around our mouths. So these glands are called exocrine glands because their secretions are carried out by ducts. Okay, so can you guys tell the difference between exocrine glands and endocrine glands? Just write it in the section below. What are endocrine glands? What's the difference between an endocrine gland and an exocrine gland? We already know what exocrine glands are. Those are glands that release their secretions by ducts. So what are endocrine glands? Anyone? Right, okay, seems like no one knows what endocrine glands are. So endocrine glands are glands that work with hormones, okay? They need hormones and they use feedback systems in order to work. So they need hormones in order for their glands to secrete any form of secretions, all right? Then the salivary glands, they secrete saliva, very important. And they also secrete an enzyme called amylase. Guys, what is an enzyme? What is an enzyme? I need you guys to use the group chat to tell me what an enzyme is. In your own words, guys, in your own words, so what is an enzyme? And also don't be afraid to make mistakes because we are here to learn. So don't worry if you're gonna write the incorrect answer. Okay, so the first answer is N. Danielle says an enzyme is used to break down something. Okay. It is used to break down something. So that is another function of an enzyme. Lindy says it's a biological catalyst. That is correct. Anyone else have an answer? Okay, that seems to be it. Okay, guys, so remember that in metabolism, we have two types of metabolism that can take place, which we can either have an anabolic metabolism or a catabolic metabolism. So in those chemical reactions, whether it's catabolism or anabolism, it is the buildup, and catabolism, it is the breakdown. So enzymes as a biological catalyst can act on either. So that is why I say, Danielle, that your answer is correct, but it is not complete. So enzymes can either work on catabolic reactions or anabolic reactions. And Sivakwi, I'm sorry if I butchered your name. It is a biological catalyst used to speed up a chemical reaction. That is correct. That is very much correct. Mandisa says a protein molecule used to speed up chemical reaction. Yes, that is correct. That is what an enzyme is. So the enzyme amylase is used to speed up a chemical reaction. So from that, we can already tell that chemical digestion is going to take place in the mouth because we have a release of an enzyme. All right. Remember that teeth, they're used for crushing food. So already we have mechanical digestion taking place in the mouth. But now, because we have a release of amylase, we know that chemical digestion is also going to take place in the mouth. All right, I hope we are together and we understand. So if anyone is lost or doesn't understand anything, just please use the group chat. Okay, so amylase is a carbohydrate. All right. What is a carbohydrate? That is an enzyme that acts upon carbohydrates. So if your food has carbohydrates, then the enzyme amylase is going to act up on those carbohydrates. So it assists in the breakdown of starch. And in this picture here, we have an example of a starch molecule. Let's say you probably ate bread. Amylase is going to act up on the starch molecule. It's just going to attach there, and chemical digestion is going to take place, and your starch molecule is going to be broken up into its components, which are sugar molecules, which are called monosaccharides. I hope you guys remember this from grade 10. All right. Okay, and then from the mouth, we know that after having your bolus needs to move to your esophagus. Okay, so there is a space before we reach your esophagus, which is called the pharynx. We didn't deal with it yesterday. So this is the area where the nasal passage and the alimentary canal intersect each other. So it is this space here. Okay, and it occurs at the back of the mouth. It therefore leads to both the esophagus and the trachea. So when you have your food bolus here, your food can either go into your throat, and that is when someone is choking, and that is just a no-go area for a bolus, but it needs to go through here, which is your esophagus, right? Your alimentary canal. So what happens here is that the trachea has an opening called the glottis. Remember, guys, your trachea is your breathing pipe. Okay, the trachea is a breathing pipe. We will deal with the trachea in more detail when we do the respiratory system. Okay, so your trachea here has an opening called the glottis and a covering which is called the epiglottis. So now when you swallow your food and your bolus is there, the epiglottis closes the opening called the glottis so that no choking can occur and that your food can go through your esophagus. Okay, Mandisa, you can ask your question. Mandisa, you had your hand up, or was that a mistake? All right. So I hope you guys understand that. This is basically what I said. I said when swallowing occurs, the glottis is closed by the epiglottis. Therefore, food cannot go down the trachea, and this prevents choking. right? And then the bolus goes through your esophagus with peristaltic movement. Remember, guys, on our study objectives, I did say we should know the definition of peristalsis, and it is here at the bottom. It is the alternative contraction and relaxation of longitudinal and circular muscles in order to move the bolus into the stomach. So this is how your food bolus moves. So you guys can see we have contractions happening there and relaxation, contractions happening there and relaxation, contraction happening there and relaxation, right? So this movement happens until the food bolus reaches your stomach. Okay. Now, finally, your food bolus will enter your stomach, or rather it will still be here in the esophagus, right? And then this sphincter here, the esophageal sphincter needs to open up to let the bolus into the stomach. Right, cool. So now what is the stomach? This is a sac-like or bag-like organ, okay? And it is found in the abdominal cavity, right, just below your diaphragm. We'll also deal with the diaphragm when we look at the respiratory system. Okay, it has thick muscular walls, and the opening between the stomach and the esophagus is closed by a valve, right? This is your esophageal sphincter. So that is the valve that closes the opening between your stomach and your esophagus. Guys, are we still together? Are we following? I need responses. I need responses. All right. All right. Okay, Mandisa, where did I lose you? Mandisa, where did I lose you? Mandisa, where did I lose you?
Hi, ma'am.
Okay. How does food enter the wrong pipe? Is that where you are lost, Mandisa?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Let me just go back to the slide. So I think it's here. All right. Okay, so food, as you can see here on this diagram here, this is your food bolus, right? This is just after chewing and all that has happened, and like, yeah, your saliva has mixed with your food and all that. Okay, so if your glottis is open, then food might accidentally go in, right? So remember I said that the glottis is the opening to your breathing pipe. It is this opening here, as you guys can see right now, glottis, right? But if this organ here, if I can just, let me try getting a pen. If this organ here is opened, let's say like it's lifted up to this side here, then it makes space, you see, for food to get into your trachea. So now the food won't automatically just fall into your esophagus, but it can just tilt a bit and go there. And then you have what we call a coughing reflex in order to get the food out, because choking is quite dangerous, right? So I hope you understand by that simple explanation how food can get into the wrong pipe. But this is prevented by the epiglottis. The epiglottis prevents food getting into the wrong pipe. Do you understand, Mandisa? All right, cool. Okay, so we already covered the stomach. Or rather we just spoke about the organ. Okay, cool. I think we're here. So another thing that happens in the stomach is that it secretes the hormone gastrin. So when the hormone gastrin is secreted, it in turn stimulates the secretion of gastric juice. Okay, so in this gastric juice, what we have included is your HCl, your hydrochloric acid, your mucus, and proteases. As you guys can also recall from the video that we watched, that hydrochloric acids are secreted and mucus is also secreted to protect the stomach lining. And we also have proteases. I think in the video they mentioned pepsinogen, right? So cool. The function of the hydrochloric acid. The hydrochloric acid functions to create an acid medium for enzymes in the stomach. Remember that enzymes function at a particular pH, right? So they need a certain optimum pH in order to function and a certain temperature, all right? So the hydrochloric acid functions to create an acidic medium for the enzymes. So it activates the enzymes and it destroys bacteria, any other types of bacteria. And then mucus, that serves to protect the stomach lining. Okay, because remember now that acid is secreted, right, in your stomach, okay, by your gastric glands. And now we don't want it to eat the stomach lining, all right? So the mucus serves to protect the stomach lining. And then we have your proteases. Proteases are enzymes, okay? And in the video that we watched earlier on, it said that once the HCl is released or secreted, then pepsinogen is converted to pepsin. Okay, so we're just going to look at pepsin right now. Pepsin is the enzyme that is secreted in your stomach. So once you have an acid medium, pepsin is turned to pepsinogen, which is its active form. Okay. So pepsin is a protease. What are proteases? Proteases are enzymes that act on digesting proteins. Okay, so the digestion of protein starts in the stomach. In as much as you can bite off the pieces in your mouth, but the proper digestion starts in your stomach, right? Because this is where we have the release of our enzyme protease. So it is released by the gastric glands, and it is for the digestion of proteins. And how are proteins digested? They are turned into polypeptides and then into amino acids. So pepsin or proteases need an acidic medium of around about pH of 3 or 4. Okay. I hope you all get that. And then we have movements that occur in the stomach. So guys, wait, let me just quickly go back to the slide here. Remember again, we said that once we have a release of enzymes, we have chemical reactions going on. So guys, this thing here is basically explaining a chemical digestion taking place in the stomach. Okay, it's the release of proteases, your HCl, your mucus, shows us and indicates to us that chemical digestion is taking place in the stomach. So if you come across a question which asks you, explain chemical digestion that takes place in the stomach, then you will need to basically write everything on the slide and the slide, right? And just go into detail where you can. Okay. Then we have certain movements that occur in the stomach. So there is peristaltic contractions that occur in the smooth muscle cells of the stomach, and they are indicated here. So they start at the top, right? And you have those contractions that are happening there that start from the top, okay, until they are released here. Okay, I'm sure you guys can see here, but yeah, let's just focus on this picture here. So remember we said that once your food enters your stomach, it enters as a bolus, right? And then we have secretions of gastric juices and all that, and there's movements in the stomach. And that bolus now becomes chyme, right? It now becomes a liquid called chyme. Okay, and now the churning of the bolus, that is the mechanical digestion that is happening in the stomach. Okay, so it allows the bolus to mix with the gastric juices, the peristaltic contractions, right? So the churning of the bolus happening in the stomach is when mechanical digestion is occurring in the stomach. So in the stomach, we have both your mechanical digestion happening and your chemical digestion happening. Okay, so now I have questions for you guys. Rather, let's do this. Before I ask you guys any questions, do we all follow? Because the lesson is about to end. Are we all following? Are we all together? Do we all understand what we covered today? Do we all understand mechanical digestion happening in the mouth and mechanical digestion happening in the stomach? Chemical digestion happening in the mouth and chemical digestion happening in the stomach. All right, cool. Awesome. All right, first question. What enzyme is released in the mouth when chewing food? What enzyme is released in the mouth when chewing food? It is secreted by the salivary glands, if that helps. Talia, amylase. Beautiful. Question 2, what is the function of this enzyme? Siwakwi, you also correct. What is the function of this enzyme? To break down carbohydrates, that is correct, Siwakwi. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Forgive me if I'm not. Then Marvin said it assists in the breakdown of starch. That is correct. You guys are both correct. Third question, what is the dental formula of an adult human? Dental formula of an adult human. Two is to one is to three. Awesome. Okay, I just saw an answer here saying it's ICPM. I think let me just quickly clarify that. Let me just get a pen. Awesome. Okay. Remember that I said the I, C, P, and M indicates the type of tooth. Ne? 2 is to 1 is to 3. The ICPM is just showing us that this number here is showing us the number of incisors. This number here is showing us the number of canines. This number here is showing us the number of, the P stands for premolars and the M is for your molars. So that is where the ICPM plays a role. Okay, so the dental formula of a human being is not ICPM, but ICPM is a standard which is used for all animals. For example, let me just make up a dental formula, 30123 will still be ICPM, all right? And the 30123 would probably be a dental formula for a dog. Okay, guys, that's just me making things up, all right? It's hypothetical, just wanted they need to understand, right? Question 4, what is the function of the enzyme pepsin? The function of the enzyme pepsin. Come on, guys. Function of the enzyme pepsin. The function of the enzyme pepsin. Remember, pepsin, it is released by your gastric glands. Okay, chemically digests the bolus. Digestion of protein. So Marvin is correct? It is for the digestions of proteins. Talia went into great detail. I love that. Breakdowns proteins into amino acids. Remember, Talia, it is proteins, 2 polypeptides, and 2 amino acids. So your final product is amino acids, which is correct. But Danielle, when you said that it chemically digests the bolus, you're not entirely wrong, but pepsin functions on proteins, all right? Yes, it is released and it does happen in chemical digestion, but it does not particularly just target the bolus. Its target is the proteins, all right? Okay, guys, so time is up. And I'd like to thank you guys for joining me today. And yeah, guys, see you tomorrow. Please tell your friends to tell their friends, send in the WhatsApp groups that we do have life sciences at 1 o'clock. Guys, you are also urged to please register for the newsletter on Africa Teen Geeks on their website. And also please follow Africa Teen Geeks on all their social platforms. All right. Thank you very much, guys. So tomorrow we'll just continue with the small intestine. Have a beautiful day, guys. Bye-bye.